If I gave a fuck what y'all think I would be doing this? Welcome to the FMFU podcast, the podcast that's from me, for us. Vulgar but true, real and never fake. I'm your host, Reese, and I've got a lot of shit on my mind today, so let's get into it. Happy Friday, people, and Happy New Year, if I'm politically correct. Welcome to an all-new, exciting episode of the From Me, For Us podcast, the first official podcast of the new year. I hope everyone had a great New Year's celebration, whether you went out to kick it at a big party in your city, stayed in the house and brought in the New Year morning, or a combination of both. New Year, new me? Nah, more like New Year, new legs in the air. I'm just playing. But I will say this. I haven't seen any New Year, new me posts this year, and that's actually pretty good. You're all learning, whether it be from me or from someone else. Progress is progress, right? So to get into this New Year pod, I must start off by saying, there's one thing about me that you may or may not know, and that is that I'm not a very superstitious person. I don't believe in New Year's resolutions, hence I always clown that New Year, new me quote. But at the same time, I'm not so deep in disbelief that I don't believe anything. I'm a firm believer that if you split the pole, that shit equals bad luck. Even if it's something as small as losing $1, that's still not good. If you're ever with me, you'll never catch me splitting a pole. I'll literally trace my steps back to go around the pole on the same side if we're walking together. So if we're walking together, don't split the motherfucking pole. I'm also a believer that certain years equal certain things for certain people. Even in odd number years always have a certain type of wave about them, whether it be good or bad. Looking back over the past decade or so, I felt for a little while now that my winning years have, for the most part, they've been odd-numbered years. 2007, I graduated high school and attended Hampton. 2011, I graduated Hampton and started my first real career-type job. 2013, I went out the country for the first time. 2015, my daughter was born, I got a big promo, and moved to Philly. 2017, I went on my first cruise. You catch my drift here. Now, that's not to say that I haven't done all right in even-numbered years, because 2016 might give any year a run for its money, but that was a destiny year because you can't make 2016 without 216, if you know what I mean. But anyway, 2018 was pretty good too. I became a homeowner. So, yeah, can't complain. But knowing that we're in an odd-numbered year and that 2019 is here, it gives me that odd-numbered year energy and lets me know that everything more than likely will work out as long as I can control my own destiny to my peak ability. So in the long week of the new year, well, the first week I should say, after a long 6 months, I finally got in the news that my company figured out their contract situation and a nigga is going to be going back to a regular damn schedule. The great thing about this is that I get my weekday free time back, so I can get my ass back in the gym, back to dropping these gems weekly instead of monthly. And it also gives me time to get back on the PS4 and be back on my bullshit like I used to be. Here we go! So here's the starting off the year right. But on the flip side of the positivity, as always, there's a reciprocated negativity that follows. There's been a big negative topic on all of social media over the past couple weeks, and no matter where you go, you can't escape it. No, I'm not talking about blindfolds and the fucking Bird Box challenge, but unfortunately about the man from the 773-302 himself, Mr. R. Sylvester Kelly.
It's the FMFU podcast, bitch.
On my podcast, I typically don't like to bring up too much quote-unquote celebrity gossip, even if it is the main topic of social media at the time, because that's just something you see all day, every day, and I do not promote gossip websites. However, if you know me, You know, I always say that most of my influence for topics is from social media because it stems from taking something or some things I saw and teaching what I believe is right from wrong. The urban millennial culture as we are, we can be so fucking lost sometimes. And having this platform, I think things can be better articulated since it's over audio with no time limit instead of a simple, quick status read. Professor Reese at its finest. Unless you've been living under a rock, Lifetime dropped a 6-part documentary titled Surviving R. Kelly. And to sum this shit up, it basically had interviews with past victims, what they saw in those studio sessions, and the parents of some of the girls that were rumored to be a part of this quote-unquote sex cult, as TMZ was calling it. Even to this day, it's hard to pick where to really begin with any of this shit because there's so much fucking red tape to this R. Kelly stuff. But whether you have watched this Lifetime documentary or not, you already know what the documentary topics are because it is something that's been surrounding this man for over decades. The obvious that the guy has before, at least one time in his life, dealt with a minor. We know it was at least once because it was documented back in the 90s by MTV News. And they even brought up in this new documentary that, of course, R. Kelly, he married Aaliyah when she was alive. And he was 27 at the time and she was 15. I shouldn't even have to include the fact of her album being titled Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, which is basically a big red flag if you read the title and listen to the lyrics of the song itself. But knowing all this information, it seems that we as a culture have always found a way to try and protect this guy. The documentary broke down lots of reasons whys, with one of them being, he was charged with the PP tape incident in the year, I think, 2001. But that shit didn't go to trial until 2008. Like, 2008? I had no clue that the trial happened that late. By drawing the trial out, ultimately, we as blacks sort of, in my opinion, forgot about it. Also in part because this fool kept dropping hits. Think about what dropped in that time span from 2001 to 2008. Ignition dropped. The remix to Ignition. Same Girl dropped. Step in the Name of Love. Like hits after fucking hits. So while we're being blinded at our black cookouts by all these hits this guy is dropping, he's still pending charges for potentially having sex and pissing on a 14-year-old girl. R. Kelly hit black culture with the ultimate okie doke by deflecting what was really going on in his life by dropping incredibly talented and timeless music. And during the time where some awarenesses were not made to lights and social media wasn't quite a thing yet, it wasn't a hard thing for him to do. But social media aside, and with how the times are nowadays, even with the Time's Up and Me Too movement and women beginning to speak out against abusers, I still, to this day, see people defending, justifying, and even victim blaming. I'm no psychologist, but victim blaming, I believe, is the number one reason women who have been harmed are scared to speak up due to this mentally enslaved culture we have that our instincts automatically think if the girl says something happened to her when she's with a celebrity, she's lying or she's out for money. The defense for this guy is so crazy at times, you would think Johnny Cochran's soul resurrected from the grave and took over y'all fucking bodies. One thing that usually gets brought up is, well, if R. Kelly is such a predator and such a monster, then why isn't this dude in jail? Now, it is kind of funny, figuratively, not literally. It's funny when this gets brought up because, I did so happen to touch on this slightly on episode 21 called William West when I discussed Bill Cosby. As I stated before in that episode, the time in the 90s when all of this stuff with Aaliyah was going on, the culture was just totally different. There was no Me Too movement, no social media outrage to spark conspiracies, controversies, and whatever else you can think of. And at the time, Aaliyah was the biggest superstar on the planet who agreed to marry this guy. Who was going to be the one to tell her or him that it was wrong when they're both top celebrities and got almost everyone around them on the payroll? The nigga next to him ain't going to say shit because he might get cut off and can't feed his family. Who's going to say something? Nobody did. The next thing that is usually said as a defense or a justification is that the parents of the teenager or the teenagers, even some old enough to be parents themselves, put themselves in that situation. He didn't come to the door and kidnapping them. They can't be a victim of a predator because they came after him. Where were the parents? Saying shit like that is typically what you're going to think firsthand. But honestly, I think that shit is highly inappropriate for many reasons. Let's start with the parent thing. People are quick to, quote unquote, blame the parents. And I'll be honest,
I'm the one who will always say things like everything with the kids starts with the parents or the household you're in. However, this situation is something that is familiar, but in this case, it's magnitude to the highest level that not even a parent's word or wisdom can match. Let's look at a comparable, more grounded situation. Think about all the times when you were younger and you told your parents you were going to friend A's house or wherever you told them, but you really snuck off to go somewhere else, whether it was a party with underage drinking or over a girl or boy's house, depending on who's listening right now. With all that happening, there was nothing your parents could really do about it because that was the decision you made when you chose to lie so you could go wild out. As a parent, you can really only do so much to try to, guide your kids in the right direction so they can make the best decisions for themselves. Ultimately, you can't control everything or every decision in your child's life because that shit's just impossible. But what teenager in this situation, hell, even young adult, is going to turn down the opportunity when a megastar celebrity is saying you have the potential to be the next, let's say, Beyonce, Ariana Grande, or whatever dream they're being sold? We can always say that, well, they should have known better based on what the rumors were. But some parents who even knew about the PP tape stuff let the potential of making their child's dream come true alter their judgment. Using celebrity or money as a power to influence is still a form of abuse, whether we want to agree with it or not. And this abuse is something that can occur not just in the situation of a grown man with young girls or these couple of women that were in their early 30s, but it can be a woman with men as well. Imagine if, let's say Nicki Minaj. Let's say Nicki Minaj was rumored to be chopping off dicks in a chop house. Now, I know that's very, very freaking extreme, but let's just say that was the rumor. The rumor is that she was on trial or she beat the case, and the rumor was she chopped off like 10 niggas' dicks, right? And, we just let her deflect it, the secrets and continue about her way. So imagine if Nicki came up to you or you were still a fan, so you came up to her and then she was just like, yo, rap for me. And you really wanted to be a rap star. So you rap for her and she's like, yo, I think you got potential. Let's work this out. Take my number. Niggas and even chicks would still be lined up if the opportunity presented itself, even with the dick being chopped off rumor. It's just, and it cracks me up because it's the fucking truth. Man, niggas be like, oh, fuck, I'm taking my chances. And that's how people think sometimes. And it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. We all slave to that dollar a little bit. But think about how many times regular non-celebrity niggas have put their shorties through some bullshit. And that same shorty end up going back to dude, even though he put her through that bullshit time and time again. If this regular nigga could do this to a chick's mental, imagine what a guy who is a big time celebrity, dare I even say legend, can do to a chick's mental who has been a super fan forever. It's not just about them trying to get money. I guess if you boil down to the root cause, yes, you can say it's about money, only because the money gives the person the power. And as some of these chicks in the documentary said, this nigga couldn't do what he did on his own, so he had niggas on the payroll helping him out. But despite all those facts, I will say, I agree to a degree that there probably are some scenarios with dude where young girls felt that they can make a come up by sleeping with this guy, or they just wanted to fuck with him because they hoes. But we gotta remember, there's gold diggers and hoes everywhere. And we as men, we can't have that big of an ego where we think every chick who speaks out is mad because they didn't get any or is only out for money, because half of the niggas talking that she only wanted money shit don't even got it all fucking like that. Besides all that, whichever way it happened, left, right, down, up, L1, L2, R1, R2, the fact still remains the same, and it doesn't make him any less guilty of messing with the young girls or there any other slave type shit he's being accused of. That's just point blank period. Another thing that's irritating my fucking soul so bad, you don't understand, I just want to slap the shit out of whoever I be seeing post this shit. Motherfuckers keep deflecting the fact about what other people have done. I've been seeing a lot of these bird box ass bitches on my timeline posting shit like, oh, y'all chicks were young fucking with older niggas back in the day. Even if that is a fact, two things can be factual at once. If these young chicks back in the day, as you say, that were fucking with older dudes, then them old niggas were wrong too. Just because they are famous doesn't mean that what they did was okay, just as what this guy did or continues to do is wrong as well. When I see these comments, it always makes me look at the person who's saying them. And 9 times out of 10, it's probably a chick who ain't shit. She 4 for 3, which is 4 kids and 3 baby daddies. Or she probably don't even know who her baby dad is and would be running to the backstage of Maury laying on the ground and crying after he says, "You are not the father." One that really got me, though, was the Jay-Z met Beyonce when she was 16. Like, hold up. First of all, you're being mad blasphemous right now, number one. Number two, meeting someone at 16, if they're already a fucking celebrity and pop star or in a group or whatever, it is different than what was going on here. But even if it's anybody and you meet somebody at 16 and you think to yourself, yeah, when she hit 23, she gonna be nice and I'm on that. That's way different than marrying someone who's 15 that you met when she was 12 and you're fucking 27, meaning you was 24 talking to a fucking 12-year-old. There's just no comparison. And stop with the, oh, Hugh Hefner had young chicks and Elvis married a teenager. We don't give a fuck about these white people shit and what they do unless they about to try to harm us. We got enough problems in our own community, so trying to be super engaged on what's going on over there is too much work. Until they fighting for us, we ain't fighting for them, and we'll continue to focus on these black problems that we need to work on. But I must say, going into this documentary, I kept all judgment neutral. I tried to be as neutral as I could going into it. And I like to keep my research going and hear everything and see all sides. So I watched all 6 parts. And I think even with me saying my little piece there, I don't really think it's much to really say about it on here that wasn't really covered on there. Of course, I just want to give my 2 cents. But I think I just really got to say that, like, I'm not that much of a narcissist, have my own opinion about the shit out the gate, and it just be a complete pessimistic thought. But at the same time, I'm not such a slouch nigga to just go directly off of what someone tells me on a documentary or some shit like that. But I will say this, 2 + 2 always fucking equals 4. So hearing these stories was just really sad as fuck. Like, you could say chicks was lying or whatever, but I'll just say this, man. Them chicks ain't fucking trained actors to be crying on the spot and shit. Like, there's conspiracies and shit, don't get it wrong. But I mean, think about it. I just feel like if you can cry like that on the spot and see them all broken up and all that shit like that, then you need to pursue a fucking acting career because that shit looked really good. But I think also, too, and I maybe not have been like this before if I never had a kid, but I also put myself in that situation. And I'm just like, I can only imagine, you know, I did everything I could for 17 years and, you know, my daughter meet this motherfucker at a concert that I gave her permission to go to or something. And, you know, she leave home at 17 and I can't get a hold of her and, you know, she's not able to get in contact with me, you know, or anything because she's pretty much like a fucking prisoner or a slave for that matter. It's pretty fucked up. And as the documentary said, and I agree, it's definitely a pimp type mentality. Anybody who knew the rumors watched the whole story and, you know, if you still agree with this nigga, I'm not gonna lie. I'll probably look at you side eye for the rest of your life. It just is what it is. But I think somebody asked this like last week. Is it really possible to separate the art from the person? Lots of people will argue and say that you can't because of the nature of, you know, what he has done. You know, you're ultimately giving the person money, etc., etc. But I won't say I'll argue this, but I will ask, like, why not? And I'm not even asking necessarily for myself, but just, I guess, in general for everybody, because we're all put in a weird place. I think back to, like, Michael Jackson. You know, MJ was criticized heavily before his passing almost 10 years ago. He was criticized heavily because of all the accusations that was going on with him and all the creepy stuff. And it was kind of similar to this. You know, you had like a lot of people who were clowning it. It was, you know, into pop culture, being made fun of on shit like, you know, South Park and shit like that. And maybe Chappelle might have did it. I don't remember if Chappelle did it. Well, we know Chappelle did the fucking pee on you thing. But anyway, you know, like pop culture was making fun of it, you know, and things like that. And these were like real serious allegations and charges. And, you know, people were split and were like, fuck, you know, fucking, I ain't fucking with Michael Jackson, whatever. But it was like as soon as he passed, it's like all those allegations just fucking went away and like never happened. Like it's just so fucking crazy. And it's like I think as a black culture, we're very forgiving to our own because I think deep down we always feel that everybody's against us. We have to stick behind our own, like no matter what, because they're always trying to bring us down. And if we combine the hate with others, it's just not going to get us nowhere. But I just think to myself, like, how far does it have to go before the person and the art are just one and the same, and we have to just say, fuck it, like, I'm done with this person forever? Like, what does it have to be? Like, does it have to be something that they're doing something to you personally? Like they shot your mother or something? Like, what does it have to be? And, I know people have been going on rants about, and I'm getting sick of this fucking phrase / word, is canceling shit. People been going on rants for a while, Kanye canceled. NFL is canceled. And I'm just looking like, cancel these nuts. Because in reality, everybody on my timeline, they still watching NFL football. They still listening to Kanye. They still eating Chick-fil-A while drinking Pepsi. They still shopping at H&M. They still using Dove soap. Like, I'm not going to sit up here and tell you what to do about any situation because at the end of the day, it's already proven. Niggas going to do what they want to do. I just don't want you to sit up here and defend what the person who was wrong did like it's not a big deal. But on another note, if we do choose not to listen to R. Kelly anymore, how we going to break down that famous part of Mr. Big's song Contagious? Frank Shire, can't you see two men are talking? As I said earlier, I haven't been on here for a while, so I haven't been able to really, run my shit like I normally do. And it'll be good to be able to get back kind of more on a normal basis. But since we are getting into a new year, I just wanted to let it be known to all you motherfucker listening that I'm the king of this podcast shit for this generation. Now, I didn't understand who done came and done did all of that and all that, but now it's my time. Ayo, Reese, the king of this podcast shit. Yo, I never got to comment on that Jacquees shit, but I think everybody's reaction was like funny as fuck. Like, like it shit had me dying. Like, but I dissected it differently as always. Like, I think he got what he wanted. I think the nigga made that comment because all he was trying to do was get a reaction, and it fucking worked. Like, I think he also was trying to hype up the fans, due to the comments being said, actually, I think it was the day of or the day before his concert in Atlanta, which is his hometown. So, that's where all that was going down with that. It was all a scheme. But I will say that, although I don't agree with that nigga, I ain't mad at the brother for having the confidence. When you perform in a craft that's in like a competitive field, because even though it's R&B, these R&B niggas is just as competitive as rap niggas nowadays. I think when you're in the field of anything, you should be able to be confident in yourself and feel like you're the best, or you can be whoever. And I think most would agree that there's nothing wrong with that at all. Right? Of course I'm right. So I subscribed to ESPN Plus for a week. I got my free trial. And luckily, earlier in the day, I just got my reminder to cancel that shit so I didn't get charged. That's another tip right there. If y'all want to fucking get free trials and shit and people be like, oh, I'll be doing that, but I forget and then they get me. Put a motherfucking reminder in your phone, man. It's easy. Tell Siri. Perf. But anyway, so I subscribed to ESPN Plus for a week. And I did it because I wanted to watch the 8 episodes that dropped of More Than an Athlete. More Than an Athlete, if you don't know, it's a documentary produced by ESPN and Spring Hill Entertainment. And basically, it documents the way that LeBron and not his posse, his friends / business partners have navigated through the NBA on and off the court successfully throughout his 16-year career. So there was a thing during one episode where, since they're going through his career in different stages, one episode, it got brought up maybe towards the end. They were watching footage of the Miracle 2016 Cleveland Cavalier championship season. It was brought up on the screen. And of course, after that, when people were talking, LeBron made a few comments. After the footage went down, he said that he felt after winning the championship for a city that hasn't won anything in professional sports in 52 years and doing it while beating a 73-9 win regular season unstoppable juggernaut, made him the greatest player of all time. Now, of course, because these comments were made, the world went into a fucking frenzy. LeBron can't be the GOAT. Jordan the GOAT. A real GOAT wouldn't call himself the GOAT. First of all, Jordan might have not said he's the GOAT, but he also doesn't say shit when it comes to kids and the killing of unarmed black men by the police either. But anyways, you know, he don't. This motherfucker just sit around, let us cop his sneakers while he sips his yak and puff on a stanky ass cigar. But I mean, let's look at this thing differently. Ali wasn't undefeated when he boxed, right? And Ali called himself the GOAT. He considered himself the GOAT because of what he stood up for, not necessarily just in the ring and how he whooped that ass, but because of what he stood for outside the ring. If we look at this shit as an only win thing, if only wins matter, why aren't we calling Floyd Mayweather the GOAT? Ain't that nigga 50-0? Big Baller Brand never took a loss type shit, right? Being a GOAT doesn't necessarily, I don't think it has to mean only on the court. Because if we're going to go with that shit, and if that's the case, and it's all just only about winning and winning it all, then Bill Russell the GOAT, since he has enough rings to cover both hands and my big toe.
Here we go!
And I don't want to hear nobody talk about, oh, those Bill Russell titles were back in the day when it was only like 18. For the people who say that, let me ask you this. Do the Boston Celtics and the rest of the league consider the Celtics the most winningest franchise in NBA history or not? If they count those rings and got all the banners hanging up at the TSA line in Logan Airport like it's a police lineup and shit, them damn championships and rings count. Keep that same fucking energy. And speaking of them green leprechaun niggas in the Northeast, Danny Ainge need to shut his ass up. This crack ass motherfucker gonna go on the radio station talking about, oh, LeBron's talking GOAT talk, his career ain't even over. LeBron is taking the Donald Trump approach to try to get attention. First of all, you stupid motherfucker, this motherfucker's always commented on shit that has nothing to do with him. And again, you comparing a black man who despises Donald Trump and saying he's acting like Donald Trump. That's just even more fucking shots. I don't even know if it's more shots at just LeBron or if that's more shots at us as a race. But you know, they do call them the Celtics, KKKS. But anyway, the comments were ridiculous, and I think it was irresponsible, especially with the state we're in, you know, with the government being shut down. You know, this asshole in the White House wanting the $5.7 billion for a fucking wall. And, you know, it's just ridiculous. But I don't know if you noticed, I did say he's hating again. Because we all know Danny Ainge, just like Paul Pierce, them niggas been haters, man. I think Paul Pierce been a hater because his fucking goatee don't connect. And Ainge been a hater because he ain't never had the best player. Back in 2013, he made a comment about LeBron when he was on the Heat. And I think LeBron was playing against the Bulls. And Ainge was talking about something about LeBron playing against the Bulls and crying to the referees or some shit. So this shit actually caused Pat Riley to put out an official Miami Heat statement that told Danny Ainge to go fuck himself. I actually forgot about that shit, but that shit's hilarious if you really think about it. This motherfucker always got LeBron digging his mouth, and he only mad now because when LeBron went out west, he thought his team was going to own the East easily, but they ain't balling like he thought they would, and now he got another of a monster of a player with French braids that plays in the North to worry about. Fuck Ainge. But anyways, what also bothers me about this whole GOAT situation, or you can't call yourself that whole shit, is that y'all, not necessarily you listening, but the people, we are the biggest fucking hypocrites in the world. Like, we'll say we want some shit blue and then get mad when it come out blue because we wanted it fucking red. Like, we want people to believe in themselves and be confident, but when we express it, oh, now it's a problem. Like, one thing that LeBron has gotten flack for is that he ain't got no killer instinct. I don't know what that fucking means. He ain't got that attitude like Jordan. He too passive. But as soon as the nigga gets slightly cocky, scratch that. I'm not even going to say cocky because he just said that's how he felt. Not that he knew it was cemented. But as soon as a nigga expresses how he feels, oh no, he can't do that. This, again, goes back to episode 21, William West. This is the same mentality that, and I know you're going to look at me sideways for this, but the same thing Kanye said we do when we don't agree with what the masses agree with. When a person thinks differently, even if it doesn't affect or, will harm the next person. We demonize the shit out of that person. It's like being enslaved a little bit, to be honest with you. I remember a couple years ago, Scottie Pippen went on record and said LeBron was better than Jordan. It was before the fucking Cavalier championship. Pippen said that shit. And everybody was like, oh my God. And they criticized the fuck out of Pippen. So he backtracked them statements. I remember the meme it had where it had Jordan and Pippen and they was on the bench. And then because it had Jordan, he was talking to him and he was just like, Scotty, you really said that shit? And Scotty's laughing and he's like, oh shit, man, I'll be high. Niggas like criticized him so bad he fucking backtracked his statements. Like, you can't even have your own fucking free thought. And then Isaiah Thomas, the original IT, not the midget, he wants to say the shit bad, but he's scared, especially during that 2017 season. Like, I watched way too much NBA TV, and like, this nigga was basically saying it without saying it because he didn't want to deal with the fucking headache. It's just like that fucking argument, or not that argument, but that quote where they say, would you rather be right or would you just not want to deal with the headache or whatever it is when it's talking about dealing with your woman? Because women don't even care if you're right or wrong. They just want to you gonna hear what I gotta say or whatever the case is. So us as men, we're just like, okay, you're right, even though like they're fucking wrong half the time. So IT just didn't want to deal with the headache. It's just funny how this shit goes, man. But I just put it like this, no matter if you think, Jordan's 1, LeBron's 2, or LeBron 1, or MJ 2, or even Kobe somewhere in there, it doesn't really matter. What does matter is that people shouldn't be demonized for thinking differently, and people shouldn't be demonized for being confident in their craft. No fucking argument.
Thank you for listening to the FMFU podcast, the podcast that's from me and for us. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, like, and comment, whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, or Google Play. Also, make sure you get at me on my social media pages. I have a Facebook page, which you can search for From Me For Us, or you can leave it in a status at FMFU_podcast. Also, get at me on Twitter and Instagram at the same @names. That's at FMFU_podcast. Remember, people, always keep it a buck, always keep it 1,000, and perception is everything. I hope you have a nice day. Still fuck y'all.